Welcome to the world of stand-up. Rolling? All right.
We're rolling.
Rodney Norman, again. Back again.
Yes.
We were just discussing before we turned the mics on that our entire friendship has been documented.
Yes, it has.
You've been on the show, well, not this specific show. You've been on stand-up twice. Mm-hmm. And my other shows you were on several times. I think this is number 5.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
It's I can't quit you.
This thing gets a hold of us. It's fun. I've always enjoyed our conversations, man. I was in research. I was listening to the last one we did. Dude, we were all over the place. We talked about Evel Knievel.
Love Evel, yes.
And the whole thing there, we talked about Garrett McNamara and the 100-Foot Wave documentary there. We were talking about, you brought a Slurpee when you came last time, if you remember that.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Sugar-free Slurpee. It was a good time, man.
It was a glorious moment.
And here, instead of like feeling more on quasi-equal ground with you, like I'm sitting in your shadow, you famous fuck. You all of a sudden, everybody knows who you are now. This is awesome, man.
Oh, yeah, it's bizarre.
You have the perfect demeanor for a guy that blows up. Like what, 300,000 Instagram followers, 800,000 TikTok followers? As you told me, you're not even really a comedian anymore. You just sell T-shirts, apparently.
Yeah, I wish people a happy birthday and sell T-shirts.
So you're a voiceover actor and a T-shirt salesman.
Okay. No, people just they hire me to just wish their friends happy birthday. Happy birthday. Okay.
That'll be $100 or whatever you charge. If it's more than that, I apologize for undercutting your quote, as the industry would call it.
You know what? Whatever the price is, it's worth it.
No, see, now they're going to be, people are going to hear this and be like, oh, remember when you said that on that show? Where I got $6, bro. You good? Like, you're just cutting off.
I've had people who contacted me and they said, hey, like I can do this for, my friend, but I have no money. I'll just do it.
That's nice of you. I have to be, I wanted to let you know this. I watch your stuff all the time, but by far the video that I still laugh at, even though I've watched it maybe 100 times, is the one where you go, I don't know who needs to hear this, so I won't waste your time. It's so good.
Well, part of this is just making fun of social media in general.
Right.
And so that was a trend where people are like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but your dryer's running. It's some stupid statement. And so I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So I did that one, and I thought, this is so stupid.
Wasn't it out like at the Salt Flats or something? No, maybe that one wasn't.
No, I think that one I was actually sitting in my car. And
That's right.
And I posted it. Again, it was one of those ones where I just thought, this is so dumb. This will go nowhere. And then that one blew up. Yeah.
It's because it's perfect. There's no fat on that joke. Every word matters. And the spacing between the weight is just, it's magical.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was just one of those just golden moments. As soon as I hit stop, I was like, oh, that was perfectly stupid. I love it.
I love it too, dude. Every time anybody if you ever come up in conversation for whatever reason, that's the video I show them.
Oh, that's a great one.
I go, here's Rodney Norman in a nutshell. Leonard, as he calls this character.
Leonard,
yeah.
Yes.
Very, very funny. How is your stand-up being received with the popularity of the character of Leonard, but yet you?
Well, there's sort of a weird transition because a lot of people who have found me because of the videos, they don't fully make the connection that I'm a comedian.
Oh, okay. They think it's real?
Oh, yeah. I have people who get mad at me when they find out that it's not. Like they feel like they lost a best friend, sort of. I'm like,
you lied to me. How
you
dare
lied to me? How dare you? I'm like, I make it pretty obvious
for
crying out loud, but yeah. So I'm at that point now where I'm trying to put out more of my stand up just so people understand, what's going on. Plus to get them to come out, and it's been working because my shows are people are starting to show up and. Which is awesome.
Yeah, you sold out last night. You were here in Salt Lake for you headlined at Wise Guys Jordan Landing last night, right?
Yeah.
Or the weekend, I suppose.
Yeah, it was pretty cool because Saturday night, it can be a toss up.
Sure.
We had a really good Friday night, which is always, a good sign. But Saturday, I'm like, I hope we have a good crowd for this tonight as well. And then I was asking the staff, how it was looking. He goes, well, we're trying to figure out how to fit more people in already. I'm like, oh, sweet.
It's a good problem to have.
Yes. So that was exciting. And then it was just a great crowd. And it's funny because there's, when they come specifically to see you, and then they are there because they know who you are, they have a connection with you. It's just it's an amazing feeling.
It's so much
different
better.
from just being a regular headliner where they're just there for whoever's performing that night. They don't care who it is. They're just there for a show. And between those audience and now going into this new step in comedy, it's just it's amazing. When they're cheering for you before you can give it on stage, that's it's what you hope for as a comic.
Yeah.
And then when you get it, it's like, hey, shut up! You people are ruining my
Trying to tell
opening joke.
jokes here.
Well,
I love that you bring that up because that is one of those things that, like, as a comedian, you have to kind of earn that level where the show is your show. You're not a feature that you're just, blending into somebody else's crowd and you don't know if it's going to hit or not. Like, it's a sense of confidence going into that when you know they're there for you.
Yeah.
Makes it funner and you're more at ease,
Yeah. The first time I ever experienced it was when we brought Bobcat Goldthwait to Wise Guys the first time. He was the first big name that we brought to the West Valley Club back.
Yeah.
If you remember that one. And I'll never just forget this. Just soon, I'm introducing him. I said, let's give it up for Bobcat Goldthwait. And he gets a standing ovation coming to the stage. I mean, the place is just going crazy.
No, this is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm standing there waiting for him to come up on stage. And so I'm just feeling all this energy. And I'm going, there's more energy here than at the end of a show.
Yeah.
It was just so amazing to watch. And then he gets up there and, he could do no wrong. I mean, it was just masterful. Watching him and seeing that. And that's when you go, that was that moment where you go, okay, this is what being a comedian is. This is, when you get to this point, this is when you can say, I'm a comedian. When you have that kind of reaction. And so to finally, it took a long time. I'm not a smart person. It took a while to figure it out. But
I wanted to comment. You look horrible for 38, which your birthday was last week, and that's just.
Yes. And I'm lying about that. I'm actually 32.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's I clearly am nowhere near the level of you are in that, but the few times I've headlined, like in Vegas, it was amazing to have that same sort of thing. Like, all those people were there for me. Mm-hmm. It was my show. I had done a bunch of marketing and we had a really great. I didn't sell out those 2 nights in Vegas, but I had a really good turnout, and it just felt more fluid. Like there was a sense of ease.
Yeah, there's a relaxed. There's still that pressure to perform and to deliver, but at the same time, there's like this little step up in your confidence. You're willing to take a few more risks and throw a few more things out there and play around a little more with the audience. And,
it's like a weird combo. It's like, because for me, I felt more pressure to want to do better because I knew those people were there for me and I wanted to leave them with a memorable experience. I wanted to be, actually, that's something I learned from you. I wanted to be memorable first and funny second. I wanted them to, in a good way. Not that I didn't want to be funny, of course, but like I wanted it to feel like something special for them just because they were there, and then be really, really funny too. Mm-hmm. And so like there was that sort of pressure. So it's like I was mulling over in my head, like, what am I going to wear? What are my shoes? Like, what? All the stupid shit you shouldn't worry about as a comedian, But it was
when you finally, as a comedian, when you finally have that point where you go, what I wear doesn't matter,
right? If anyway, it could take it away from you if you look too good.
Yeah. You get too much ornamentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was I recall watching. I want to attribute this to Tom Segura, but I don't know if it was actually him. I was watching an interview where they were saying that like that sort of experience that we're discussing of they're your fans. It's really easy to get a laugh. That's a spectacle. That there's a temptation at a certain level to make you soft as a comic, where. Mm-hmm. Because I think it was Thomas. He was like, I started telling this joke, and he said it was a shit joke. I hadn't even flushed it fully out yet, and they were dying. And like I knew enough to be like, this isn't good. Yeah. But they were loving it because of who they think they know as the guy on stage and how funny they thought.
Oh yeah, there's a moment that happens where when you're working as a comic, your relationship with the audience is you're there to prove to them that you're funny.
Yep.
And they're sitting there going, okay, that's funny. Okay, all right, next. What else? Do you have?
Next.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you're just always working to get their laughter. Always, you happen to earn it from them. And then when it gets to a point where there's this switch, where instead of you trying to impress the audience now is trying to impress you.
They want your approval.
They're looking for your approval, so
Interesting,
they're throwing it out there, and that's why. Yeah, you'll see a lot of comics. They'll get like 2 or 3 albums, and then they just basically stop because.
I've noticed
loses its fun.
Yeah,
to some degree.
I'm a huge fan of Kevin Hart, but it feels like the last special that he did, he's too famous now. He's too famous. He's too rich. There's not a lot of relatability to some of the stuff he talks about, and he did it in his basement. It was during COVID, so he had a comedy show filmed in his house with fans there or friends or whatever.
Yeah,
and it was funny, but it felt like it didn't hit. It felt like there was a point where it was like he just was, I don't know if he was either stretched too thin or it was what was going on with COVID, or he's like, how many hundreds of millions of dollars do I need? I don't know. It felt a little off. Like he wasn't relatable at that point.
You're disconnected. I mean, that was one thing I always appreciated about Carlin was that he really, he just wrote and produced so many comedy specials.
Yeah.
But he really tried to break away from that moment where the audience is trying to impress him. He kind of almost made it. I think it was like he was making it impossible for you to like him. He didn't want you to like him. He wanted you to find this was funny because it was funny, not because you thought he was funny.
He was great at that.
Yeah, and he was probably one of the best ones that really kind of fought through that and stayed true to his art, I think.
I think there's something to that. As I listen to what you're saying, I'm thinking, I shared my experience of watching Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's type of comedy is storytelling related to family and relating to his experiences. Mm-hmm. When you look at a guy like Chappelle, who is arguably in the same echelon of wealth, and he's more popular as a comedian than Kevin Hart. Well, I don't even know how to say it. Like, they're up there. They're both up there, right?
Yeah.
But Chappelle's comedy is all social commentary. So I've never felt from Chappelle when I watch his stuff that there was an unrelatability to it.
Yeah.
It felt relevant, and it felt like I was pulled into the story. Even when, like his last special, Closer, critics have said it wasn't as good, but it's memorable. And it has like some very like poignant parts of the discussion. And it ends on the funniest closing line I've ever heard. Do you remember it?
I don't.
I knew your father. He was a beautiful woman. He talks about his friend dying that was the transgender woman, and he's gonna, started that fund for his daughter and her daughter, and then he said, "I know what I'll say to her. I knew your father. She was a lovely woman, or he was a lovely woman." Anyway, it's funny, but yeah, the whole process of kind of that relatability is interesting. For myself, like I'm kind of in this weird spot. Like I haven't been going to open mics as much. Mm-hmm. But I've been writing a lot. I've been using the podcast as a way to kind of flesh out that, and I've noticed that being on mic and being in a position where I'm always having to articulate an idea, it feels like I don't usually skip a lot of beats going back on stage. It still just feels comfortable because I'm on stage all the time anyway. Yeah, and I've wanted to stay happy, and sometimes going to every bar mic and open mic doesn't make me happy.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to, especially when you first start. The open mics are really important because you've got to get that strength of just being able to get up in front of any group and just do your thing and working on your craft. But I do think you get to a point where, diminishing returns. Yep. With the open mics. I mean, you can tell, especially after a long time, if something's got legs to it, or if you really need to work on it. I mean, if you feel like you need to go put it in front of an audience, then fine, go. But to just do open mics for the sake of doing open mics, I think it's not necessary after a while. Yeah. It can actually be a little depressing.
You don't say.
I think it can set you back because you're going out and you're hanging out with people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and everybody has an opinion.
Yes.
And also, I've noticed this too, like, I still, to this day, don't have a lot of confidence at open mics. But give me a feature set, and I'll show up like a goddamn rock star, man. I can headline.
Well, it's a different relationship with the audience in every way. Plus, you're only there for 3 minutes. As I tell people, the most important thing to learn about open mic is how to make an impact.
Yeah.
How to turn that audience into yours for that brief moment in time. And that's powerful. So, I mean, there's still value. There's still something you can gain from it. But, yeah, it's a different thing. But hopefully you get to a point where you don't need that anymore.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. You know, one of the things as well that we were talking about before we turned the mics on was your love of Disney. I thought we should revisit how just thankful you are for their presence in children's lives and how well they do.
Yes, nothing brings me greater joy than Disney.
We made a joke that, well, you had referenced a quote by Michael Eisner, who was a former CEO of Disney, and that when he was asked what his job is, that he's like, we sell children's clothing. Like Disney's entire model is supported by merch.
Yeah,
basically.
it's merchandise. That's the
a
biggest
movie is a
part
commercial
of their,
for the
yeah.
merchandise.
That's all the movie is. So whether a movie makes or loses money doesn't matter. Getting those images and out there and having new merchandise to sell, that's what drives it. That's the part that people don't. You know, when they talk about how much money this movie made, it's all about box office sales and all that. What you don't see is the 10 times the amount of money that they made off merchandise.
Yeah.
Even if the movie's a flop, they still make it all back in merchandise.
I would be curious. Well, they're a juggernaut of a company. I mean,
oh yeah,
they own ESPN. They own a major movie. There's Disney Studios, obviously. They own Lucasfilm now.
Then
ABC, Marvel.
Yeah.
Holy hell!
They own the biggest franchises easily.
If I was an actor and I had a chance to do even a potentially shitty Disney movie, I probably would have done it. Just for the legs that it would take as far as getting your brand out there for potential in the future.
You're just going to be, even if you just make some throwaway straight to, I used to say DVD or whatever, but it's just going to go online somewhere. Even that's going to expose you to thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
I mean, it's unreal. But then you have to understand that,
you sold your soul to the devil.
You have sold your soul for the devil. I mean, it's like the Illuminati is not a scary, vicious thing. It's got a happy
Rodney,
face,
dude. What? I'm just kidding.
No, it is. I mean, Disney is. I think they destroy everything artistically that they ever get their hands on.
Yeah, you're not a fan of what they did to Star Wars.
No, I despise what they did to Star Wars.
They're really trying to make sure that they, include all races and genders in all of their movies now. But I think that that's still bigoted because in the galaxy, how can they account for every race and gender and species and really give everyone a voice?
Yeah, but I know, you know what? The Ewoks aren't featured on every show. What's going on?
I have
with
yet
that?
to see a trans Ewok in any movie,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
that's egregious against the trans community on that planet. You know,
absolutely.
I really wish they would become woke. Disney needs to get woke because they're just racist and bigoted. And
yes, they do.
I mean, they have a couple. They were close back in the day when they had Sleeping Beauty had this adult prince kissing a 14-year-old girl that's sleeping.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Nothing. Or you even said this, and I didn't notice this. So Pinocchio, you got this woodsman guy trying to get his wood doll to be turned into a real boy whose nose grows, and last part of his name is Pedo.
Pedo, absolutely. I mean, there's something going on there. I'm not trying to connect the dots, but I'm just trying to,
Hey, if it's a straight line, there's no dots to connect. You
there
know
you
what I mean?
go. There you go.
So anyway, did you see the new Buzz Lightyear movie?
Yes. This is the thing, man. This is my favorite thing about the internet is the conspiracy theories because they're so fun.
They are.
I mean, have you ever gone down the flat Earth rabbit hole?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I love it. I love every part of it.
Yeah.
I just.
But when you bring up well, wait, what about this part to a guy that's really into that? Well, no, bro. They have a full
full
almost religious type of pushback against something.
Oh yeah, it's fun. I find people who are really into flat Earth. I really enjoy them. My favorite thing is when you get to see a flat earther arguing with somebody who's a glober. I think is what they call
a glober. That's
globers.
The name.
Yeah,
or just a person.
Yeah.
that believes in science.
But it's so funny when they're going back and forth because this and this and they're all getting so integral and you get to a point where you realize neither of them really know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're just making up crap.
It's like two dogs barking at each other.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I love it. And then, I just love the conspiracy theories. I love getting into them. I love just exploring. The crazier, the better.
Well, the pandemic it was a Pandora's box for us for that time. Us inclined to that.
Oh, yeah.
The hard part for me was when I'd go down one of those rabbit holes, and then at the bottom of it, I'm like, oh, fuck, this is real.
Yeah, that's always the clincher when you get there and go, oh
Wow.
this is happening.
So Trump wasn't on Ghislaine Maxwell's list because if he was, it would be out there. Whoa. There I said.
Plot thickens.
The plot thickens. Yeah. Conspiracy theories are fun, man. It's getting to the point, like, I love all the memes where they're like, hey, your conspiracy theory friend needs an apology. Like, especially from the last 3 years, you know?
Because there has been so much that it is true. I mean, we've all known that there are elites that are controlling things. I mean,
Well, the idea that, like, I've been on this kick about pharma. It's like, Joe Rogan got just pulled through the coals for even suggesting that ivermectin and monoclonal antibodies could help. And then, Don Lemon and all those schmucks at CNN said that he was horse dewormer and paste. Dude, ivermectin is on the CDC website now as a treatment for COVID.
And it was before, and then they took it off because it's
a Nobel Prize winning medicine.
It's a cheap medicine.
It's so cheap, and that's the problem. Is it it's
cheap and it's easily
there's
accessible.
no royalties for Pfizer to be made unless they do their own, which is what they did. They created that other one that's just real close to it. And it's like,
when you go back and look at all the weird things that have happened because of pharmaceuticals and like DuPont and 3M and all like my favorite was the chlorofluorocarbons. Remember that?
Yeah.
The CFCs were destroying the ozone.
Yeah.
The ozone's going to die. We got to get rid of CFCs. But if you really look at it, what happened was, when you develop a chemical and you get a patent on it, you only get that patent for 40 years. And then that patent becomes open to everyone.
They have to apply for a tweak to maintain the patent.
Yes. Well, they realized that there was no way they could get it. But they didn't want everybody else to be able to make their chemicals.
Right.
So DuPont started the whole ozone thing so that they could get CFCs banned. That way nobody could use their patents and they could introduce something new. And it's exactly what they did. And it's so funny you tell people, we saved the planet. No, you did. You just helped DuPont make
billions of
more dollars. That's all you accomplished. Yeah. The ozone layer, it was doing what it's been doing for centuries. It wasn't a problem at all.
Are you saying that climate change isn't real, Rodney? Is that what is that your hot take right now?
Look, I'm not a science.
I'm not a science. I think you are a science, Rodney. I think there's something about you we should study.
No, that's the coolest thing about just the times that we live in. This is why I tell people this is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, all this information is right here. It's available. Sure, a lot of it's just garbage and nonsense, but you get to really go through it and hear both sides, and you could find that. I mean, and the thing I always like to point out is the side that's getting silenced is the one that's probably right.
Yeah, you're never on the right side of history if you're the silencer.
Yes. If you really believe in the truth, you want the idiots to say what they have to say because they're helping.
Yeah.
They're proving your point. So let them talk. I mean,
Thank you for saying that. That's been something that I've been railing on forever, that like a true marketplace of ideas, the best ideas win.
Yes.
So
but you have to have the bad ideas.
Yeah, and it's okay to have two ideas that kind of suck, but one's a little better, and then you take that and you build upon it, and it becomes something that is a better conversation. But the crazy, I'm really curious to see, kind of speaking of conspiracy theories, I'm really curious to kind of see what happens in the next 12 to 18 months. We have a crazy contested midterm elections coming up in November, and for all intents and purposes, it looks like it's going to, that the Republicans should take the House and the Senate.
Yeah.
And with all the buffoonery that's been happening and the gaslighting and everything, like Rand Paul, as an example, is on a witch hunt to find out how much money pharma was paying to the NIH and what Fauci's role was and everything. And you can tell because Fauci announced like 3 months ago, I'm quitting. I'm done. And Rand Paul's like, oh, cool. Still not going to change what we're going to go for, bro. Like,
yeah.
So there's that aspect of it because of the amount of money that it's just as easy to buy a doctor as it is to buy a politician.
Oh, absolutely.
So you've got this whole thing and the effect of it. And then the stuff with, COVID being a dangerous disease if you are obese and you have issues with your heart and you have all these other aspects. But like generally speaking, the people that were dying were already sick or compromised.
Yeah. I mean, the exact same group that is affected by the flu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which apparently disappeared.
It did for 1 year. There was like
there was no flu cases.
And now they're like,
whatsoever.
Let's bring her back. Let's get the band back together. And we'll have both out there.
We got to get the regular flu shots going.
It's almost like COVID and the flu were like, Roger Waters and who's the other guy for Pink Floyd? Was it Gilmore? They just didn't like it, so they just one bailed. And they would still play each other's songs,
Yeah.
Well, I've heard this one. I thought this was the other guy's song. No, it's we're good.
It's a collaborative.
It's collaborative, yeah. So COVID and the flu got together, and they have a greatest hits album now. And sounds like they've reconciled their differences.
I hope that we've all learned something from that. It's like, okay, this was not what they said it was. I mean, you really go back and look at the numbers. There wasn't massive. There was the same deaths that.
Yeah, the death count didn't change.
Yeah,
the amount of people dying didn't change.
Yeah, in fact, in some cases, it went down.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just.
It's beautiful.
But suicides went crazy.
Yeah, because everybody's. Dude, I remember there was during the lockdowns and everything. I drank more than I should have. I was drinking 4 or 5 nights a week during that time, just because I was bored out of my mind and didn't know what to do. And liquor stores were open. You could mask up.
Yeah, they were essential.
They were essential. And my wife and I, we have a weed card, so we were able to enjoy that aspect of it too. But it forced me to, like, after that kind of changed, I did this program that I started that summer after that whole thing. I started in August. Have you ever heard of 75 Hard?
No.
So I wouldn't want to go into this too much, but it's a program for 75 days. And every day for 75 days, you have to do 2 workouts. You work out once indoors, once outdoors, 45 minutes at least apiece. You read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. You drink a gallon of water. You take a progress picture of yourself with your shirt off, and
is that what this is?
That was that was after that time. I pudged up a little bit on that picture for after, because I lost like 35 pounds during 75 Hard. When you saw me at comedy, when you were like, dude, this guy's taking the pandemic serious and got skinny, and that was because of that program.
Ah, okay.
But no alcohol, and you had to follow a diet. That was the thing. So you follow a diet and you don't have any alcohol. So I went cold sober for 2.5 months, drinking the water every day, everything, and it really, really changed my mindset about kind of what I was seeing, and I felt like a clearer vision of kind of what was going on around me. I didn't make a lot of friends during that time because I was railing against a lot of this stuff. I'm like, this is a psychological operation we're going through right now. There's a bigger question here that you lemming idiots don't see. And you're just getting mad at me because I'm not stoked about wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Face diaper, whatever. Anyway. That's a turn. So T-shirts, huh? You're selling T-shirts?
Yes.
So let's sell some T-shirts. What do you got? Like, I know you have your emotional support human.
Well, it's funny because my character. Again, kudos to you, my friend. You inspired me.
Well, here's the thing. I want to yell that from the rooftops, but I feel like an asshole doing it because I'm like, no, Leonard is part me, bro. And like. Rodney doesn't give a no. And I'm like, no. I have documented recording of him saying.
I tell people you were the impetus because I was, I had this character, and you loosely based off my alcoholic grandfather, right? And I'd done a few things with him on stage and stuff, but I really wasn't quite sure where to go. And then that one day, I'm watching one of your Instagram videos. I remember you're in your hallway. And you're like leaning against a wall or something, and and it was like
so bad.
It's like it was when you were your life coach phase, And what you said was inspirational. It was a good thing. It was a positive message. It was just saying, hey, do you feel like you don't deserve to be happy? Well, I'm here to tell you that you do deserve to be happy. You deserve to be successful, and it made me laugh. Because
so
I'm thinking, this is a great message, but
what if we added crazy hair and an alcoholic spin to it?
It was just that moment. I was just like, that's it. My alcoholic grandfather as the world's worst life coach / motivational speaker. And so I went through and started watching yours and more of your videos and a bunch of other people's, inspirational messages and stuff. And so then I kind of formulated and started playing around with the whole thing. And eventually, I did it for a couple years, but it really wasn't until the pandemic.
Yeah.
When all my gigs got canceled and I'm sitting at home, what do I do? And
was it TikTok that was the medium that made it go?
No, the first one was Facebook. Okay. I didn't have anything to do with TikTok for a while, but so I started working on this character and I started dropping it on Facebook, and then just one day, well, JD,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
He was he's also part of the sort because he had posted, it was right during the George Floyd riots were all the rage, right? They were going
crowds.
They were going crazy, and and then the internet at the time, it was just everybody's
so
mad,
negative,
negative, mad, everybody's pissed, and so he posts this thing. He says, "Hey, has anybody got an opinion about what's going on? I can't," which is totally ridiculous. Very sarcastic. I loved it, and so I read that, and I was getting ready to write something equally sarcastic, and then I thought, no, I should make a video. And then I thought, you know what? Because he's looking, said somebody to explain the George Floyd riots. And so I thought, okay, how do I explain the George Floyd riots without being offending either side?
There's a guy and they did some stuff and then they did the stuff and then
and that was the whole impetus, was explain George Floyd without offending anybody. And I did it, and as soon as I was done, I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever done. And I thought, it's perfect.
Better send it.
So I posted it as a comment to his thread. It got like 6 likes. I thought, now this deserves more. This is so stupid. I got to share this with the rest of the world. So I went and posted it. And at the time, we were getting ready to fly back here. So I was getting ready to drive to the airport in Boston. And I was sitting there in the car waiting for the wife to come. And so I'm thinking, I'll go ahead and post it. So I did. And then between the time it took me to get from Boston to Salt Lake, by the time I got to Salt Lake, got off the plane, it was already 100,000 views.
Wow. On Facebook?
On Facebook.
God bless you, Rodney.
And going crazy. And just, it was getting shared and hit 1 million within a week. It was nuts. And then it just blew up. And then all of a sudden,
I love how you say that after 1 million is when it blew up. That's
well, it's 1 million. That's one thing I've learned, that 1 million views is not as impressive as you think it is.
Said by the guy who has millions of views.
Yeah, well, it's a good.
That was
a good
Tuesday for
point.
me. It was fine.
Well, no, it's just you think that if I get 1 million views, all of a sudden I'm going to be super famous, but it doesn't. It takes a while for it to really, really
for them to stop you at Harmon's and be like, "Oh my God, are you Rodney Norman?"
Yeah.
How often does that happen for you?
Almost every day.
Really?
Like I was in California for a thing. For some reason, I'm really popular with the weed crowd.
You don't say.
And so I get invited to all these dispensary.
The most sober man I know is Bob.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, there's this company in California called Wave Rider, and what this guy, that is the coolest story. The dude, he's a surfer, and he back in the 70s, he was into weed back then. So this guy has been, he's been in the game for a long time, and so when it finally became legal, he was in a perfect position to be able to, create the perfect strains specifically for medical use and all that stuff. So he was one of the first ones that got permission to do medical marijuana in California. And then when the recreational part hit, he was already boom. So they're
ready to go.
Yeah, they gave me a tour of their whole operation. the greenhouses, and
It's impressive, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, it's and how it's just like down to it, literally like science. It's like what are you smoking for? Oh, I got glaucoma. Oh, we got to use this one. I mean, it's so specific. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's such a weird thing how you don't know how all this is going to affect people.
Did they think you were a stoner?
A lot of them, yeah, they do. They think that a lot of people think that I get stoned and then I make the videos. And I'm like, no, I'm just a great actor. Thank you very much. But, I grew up watching Cheech and Chong. I mean, they were, I loved them when I was kids. I loved Cheech and Chong. I loved the whole thing. I loved all the pot smoker stuff, Half Baked. And
that was a good movie, Half Baked.
They're just fun.
Did I ever tell you that I used to work with Cheech's daughter?
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I was up at Deer Valley during my ski days, I ran the rental department of a Christie Sports. So Deer Valley Resort is the resort itself, and then there's other businesses that are up there.
Sure.
And I started at Deer Valley, and then I got hired by Christie Sports, and she was one of my employees. Carmen Marin is her name.
Really?
Yeah. There's a funny story that. So at this time of my life, I was super Mormon. So I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't have any. I wasn't tempted by the evils of the world at the time, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Well, Carmen was dating this guy that was one of the ski techs in the same shop. His name was Ben. And at the time, Cheech, it was the Nash Bridges era for Cheech. Uh-huh. He was on that television show with Don Johnson, and he was just flush with all that Nash Bridges money. And he had a really nice condo up at the Silver Lake area of Deer Valley. And so Carmen would actually stay at her dad's spot. She was 2 blocks from the place up at where we were at. And my shop was 50 feet from the Stein Eriksen Lodge. It was right up there at the Silver Lake area of Deer Valley. And one day Cheech comes in to see Carmen. He was in town. And she's like, hey, let's go take a few runs, Carmen. And she's like, hey, can I go with my dad to? And I'm like, absolutely, go ski. And Ben, the tech, was her boyfriend at the time, and she's like, hey, Ben, let's go. We're going to go do some laps with my dad. So they go back. They're gone 2 hours, whatever, come back. And Carmen is ribbing him like he's the biggest idiot ever. And I go, I got to hear this story. Because this Ben guy, he drank, he smoked. There was nothing that he wasn't. There's a run at Deer Valley called Triangle Trees. And I guess they were skiing together, stopped in Triangle Trees, and Cheech whipped out a joint, was like, hey, let's get stoned. And they were going to do that. And Ben says no. He's like, I don't want to smoke right now. And she's like, you wouldn't smoke with us. What's your problem? And I'm sitting there as a Mormon guy going, you didn't smoke with Cheech? You had a chance to get high with the man, dude. I would have done that, dude. And my life. Oh my God. I was so mad at him. It became this thing we teased him for the longest time. This guy doesn't even know how to. He had a chance to get high with Cheech of Cheech and Chong, to be funny about it. And that was, I'm sure he still regrets it because
that's funny.
That's smoking with Cheech is like smoking with Chappelle or Bob Marley or any of these other
sure.
You do it. You don't question, you do it.
Yeah,
it's a story.
Jesus will forgive me for this one.
Jesus put that for me there is what happened. There's no forgiveness required. This is a part of the plan. You know what I mean?
Did I ever tell you my Cheech Chong story? So we had Tommy Chong at the club in West Valley.
Okay.
And this is the time,
I
Cheech
love
Chong
Tommy Chong,
weren't
by the
together.
way, dude.
He's
As a side note, did you know that he shared a cell with Jordan Belfort of Wolf of Wall Street fame when he was in jail?
Really?
Yeah. He talks about that a lot. He's like, we were cellmates for a bit.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway.
But he was just a beautiful human being. I mean, he's just genuine, just nice, and just so
He's
cool.
a spokesman for weed.
He's it. I mean, and he's just everything you would hope he would be. Yeah. That's what he was.
Hey,
he's
man.
Just so kind, just so cool. And but anyway, I was there, and he had called Cheech. He was on the phone with Cheech, and I'm there listening to the conversation. He's like, hey, man, I'm down here at this club. It's just down here in Salt Lake, man. I don't think I'm not that far from your place, man. And you're talking. I said, no, man, come down, man. I got an extra guitar. We can sit down and just goof off, man. I think it'll be great, man. Come on down. It'll be cool.
Hey, man.
And he goes, oh, okay, call me back. All right. And he goes, he kind of looks at me and says, oh yeah, Cheech might come down, and I'm just like, I've been getting tingles.
Yeah.
I'm just like, these guys haven't been together since like the mid '80s, and I'm like, oh, holy cow, here we, I'm about to be part of history, because I'm emceeing the show.
Yeah.
And then he calls back and says, oh man, no, there's something. He was something with his family, so he couldn't come down. But we were like, I mean, it was like that close to having the Cheech and Chong reunion at Wise Guys.
Oh, dude.
On a show I was on, I was just like, oh, I mean, I get goosebumps now just thinking about it.
Yeah.
It was like we were that close.
That's history right there.
That close to
They
making
are
that
iconic.
happen.
I mean, they weren't ever traditional comics in that way, but they were musically, like, they're hilarious. Well,
they're
actually, maybe
amazing.
I'm wrong. Did Tommy Chong have an actual, like, set? Like, we
Oh yeah, they were both stand-up comics. Then
I didn't
they
know
met,
that.
And then
I
they
retract
started
that.
doing the show together.
Okay.
They started doing the stuff together, and they really weren't stoners to begin with, but they came up with these two stoners bit,
Right.
and then it just
Dude, what a franchise, the Cheech and Chong movies.
oh
They're
yeah.
iconic.
Yeah, I hope they make a new one.
Oh,
I know because they're
should.
back together. They've been doing stuff together. It'd be
Well,
really
do you
cool
know
if
what
they
their
did.
falling out was? Like, why they stopped? Because they had a thing where they weren't buddies for a while.
A lot of it was that Cheech wanted to just go mainstream. He wanted to be a regular actor, and Tommy was like, "No, man, why walk away from this?"
Yeah.
So it really wasn't. It wasn't so much a breakup. They didn't really hate each other. Just Cheech just wanted to pursue other things. He didn't want to be. Just
Right.
Cheech and Chong. He wanted to be a serious actor and that kind of stuff. And so he wanted to branch out. Tommy was just like, oh, look, I ain't walking away. This is it, man, for me. So he
Who do
just
you
kept
agree
doing
with in
stuff.
that one?
I can see both of their points. I mean, I
Did
understand
Cheech
that
ever do
idea.
any, like, real... Well, I guess in Nash Bridges
He was on Nash Bridges.
Forgot about that, yeah.
I mean, yeah, he did a few things, but he didn't see it. He wanted that to be a character he did, not the character. But it was so huge. I mean, that was the thing. It was so big. It was so huge that there's no way you can get out from underneath the shadow of that.
Yeah. What an interesting quandary as a creative to be in. To
Yeah.
have been so successful at creating something that people love so dearly that you feel almost pressure to have to continue it instead of it being a choice when you might have other endeavors. That's interesting.
That's part of why right from the beginning, I've been like, it's just a character. Calm down.
Got to leave your
Because
options.
and people, people right off the bat, they were like contacting me going, "Hey man, you gotta go and get everything off the internet that shows people who you are, and just be that character." And this is the kind of stuff people were telling me, and people still think that I should do this. And I'm just like, nah.
Do you have an agent yet?
I've got one that's like a social media
Okay.
person. She's working on getting me bigger deals, bigger commercial deals, but nothing's panned out, but came out of it yet.
Yeah, you're taking the bull by the horns right at the gate. Being, no, I do characters. This is just my most popular character.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm just this guy.
Yeah.
I was like, that to me would be the bigger fraud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you're so good at it.
That's
so
my great.
believable.
I had some people who were like, I found out I was disappointed, and I get some of that. But I had this one guy that wrote to me, and
You're
he
like,
goes,
sorry, your life sucks, bro. Like,
yeah, I was like, oh, wow.
flattered you
But this
gave
guy
me.
writes to me. He says, "Hey, man, he goes, when I first watched this character, I thought this is just some, half baked hippie out in the middle of the woods, And I thought it was great. I thought it was brilliant. I loved it. And I'm watching the videos. I'm just like more convinced that that's who this person is. That, and there were rumors that I was like a real rich dude that just went off grid.
Some eclectic guy that
Some eclectic
so bored.
millionaire that's just like
You're an original stockholder at Google or some shit.
yeah, that kind of stuff. And but and I watched the videos, and then I found out that it was an act, that it was a character, and I was really disappointed. And I'll be honest, I was a little mad. But then as I got thinking about it, I realized you're a freaking genius. He says, I had no clue. I had no idea that you were acting until I watched a podcast, you talking about how you created this character. And he goes, and now when I realize that it's all an act, now I love you even more.
Even better.
It's because it's even better now, And I was like, oh, thank you.
That's so great. It's. I love conversations like this. Like I had JD on the show actually just a couple days ago. We're going to re-record the show. We had some technical difficulties that unfortunately kind of came up, but part of the conversation we had was in relation to kind of how he's handling his character. Because he has, it's an exaggeration of who he is. It's not like he's Leonard and it's something that's completely absurd. He just dials up the draw and the gun barrel city a little more, and he's got this stuff, and it works, But he's been getting some advice that shouldn't be a part of it at all. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe that. I think I've always thought, especially with a guy like JD, that like he's done different characters on stage from the jump.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think that who cares about my opinion, but I'm like, I think that if you were to like weave all of those characters into like a headlining set and have it be something that it's almost like, I don't mean like this, but it's the only way I can describe it, almost like a variety show in a way. It's like there's a story and you're in this one character and then you come back to your normal self and then you transition and it becomes really peculiar and entertaining and memorable, But we'll see how he evolves that. He's headlining on the 6th of November at Wise Guys that Sunday night for the first time. And he's just
I'm excited
nervous
for him.
as shit about it, dude.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of in his head about some things that are concerning, so it's going to be interesting to see how he pulls it off. That first time headlining it's a bugger.
Oh, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
I feel lucky. My first time headlining was at like 13 months from my first open mic.
Yeah.
And I was too stupid to know what a big deal it was. I just went and did it, prepared for
It's
it.
like, oh, please, I'm just doing an hour.
Well, I ended up doing like 43 minutes or something, and I was so bummed that like I didn't do more. Because I didn't know. I was like, and I had a hard time. Like that's one of the things in comedy specifically that's interesting. Is like you can get bad advice everywhere, man. Like, and you don't know as a comedian.
Yes.
And so I was getting conflicting advice about certain things, and actually, to his credit, so I had my first hosting gig that I ever did at Wise Guys was with Brian Callen, and I had developed somewhat of I wouldn't call him a friend, like I can't call him up and be like, but there's a friendly association there where it's like he, I was on his show again when he was just in town, a couple months ago, and there's a niceness there, and he had given me some advice. I reached out to him on Instagram and I asked him some questions, and he just basically said like, look, like, how do you feel about it? Like, do what makes you feel good. Do what keeps you in your head in a good way. And if you think it's funny, do it for you. And if you think it's funny first, other people will too. And then he was like, unless you suck, but whatever. Like, he's just kind of throwing in the reality of like, you might be horrible at this because he had never seen me headline. But it's going to be, I'm excited to watch JD because I've thought he should have headlined a long time ago, but he's doing something. But so what's your so you have such an interesting story with your comedy career. You've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
Have you had periods of time where you were more in demand than you are now?
No. This is before the pandemic, I had started really pushing it because I really kind of made it just more of a hobby for many years because I'd went on this run for 6 weeks and I was on the road and I was miserable.
Right.
I mean, when I performed, everything was great and right with the world, but as soon as you get off stage and go sit in the hotel room by myself, and I got a wife and kids that I love and adore and would rather be with, I was like, what am I doing? Yeah. I'm like, doing bar gigs in Helena isn't getting me anywhere. And
I heard that the scene in Helena is just kidding. It's rockets,
It's actually
bro.
pretty good now. I went. Well, it was funny because I went back.
Well, you
to
get the
Helena.
Canyon Ferry crowd from the lake just up the road. So,
you go.
and they're a little bit, they're the
I
Bud Light crew.
There's a street in Helena called Rodney Street. It's the first street built in Helena.
Okay.
And it's named after the first guy who died in Helena. And they're like revitalizing this. They brought me in as part of the celebration for this thing. It was pretty cool. So there's that. But anyway, I'm on the road and I'm just like, I don't like this. I don't like being on the road. Yeah. And so I just decided I'll just do local gigs, and until the kids are all grown up. Comedy's just going to be a hobby. I mean, middle-aged white guy, and really hitting it big in comedy is such it's such a crapshoot anyway. Yeah. And you just finding that right moment and being ready for it. I don't know. At that point, kind of felt like it probably passed me by, But I still enjoy doing it. And I'm just going to do it because I love it. Gigs happen, cool.
Yeah.
And then when the kids all got older and moved out of the house, I was like, okay, now I'm going to really start focusing on it. And so I started really pushing to get in with clubs and start picking up gigs. And I started setting up. Probably had set up one of the best, just consistent runs of shows for quite a while, and then COVID hit. And,
you're like, dang it.
8 months of comedy I mean, I was booked out almost solid for 8 months. I was looking like one of the best years of comedy ever. I mean, it was really starting to click. And then it's just... stay home, all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of bummed, but at the same time, I was just like, well, I'm not going to let this go to waste. And that's when I started focusing on making the videos.
Yeah. And the rest
because I figured as comics, I figured every other comic was going to be doing the same thing. But instead, they all sat around and got drunk.
Well, I still made videos. They just were drunk. I did a whole series of videos on the Tiger King. It was great.
Oh, that's funny.
I dressed up like Jeff Lowe, had the Hardy hat backwards and the handkerchief and the leather jacket.
Yeah,
they got no views though because they sucked. But at least I did it,
Yeah, but that was just do it, man, and it's fun. So, and now it's just the coolest thing is just where it's taking me because once you have some sort of success, the coolest thing is just all the doors that start opening for you.
Yeah.
And you realize that there's so much that you could do with all of this. And just the new opportunities. And it's funny trying to help other people to see that with their own lives, because it's like I'm seeing it with mine, is that all these doors were open to me before. I just never noticed them.
Yeah.
I never thought, it wasn't in my wheelhouse. It wasn't a possibility. But now that they are, I realize they've been here the whole time, and that's the funnest part to me is just all the new cool things I get to do, writing a book, and
you're writing a book now.
Yeah, actually 2.
Just cause
getting
see a second
into
one?
Well, I went to one of these social media conferences. Okay. Have you ever been to one of these things?
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of them.
And so I get invited because I'm an influencer now. And they have these panels of interesting ideas, I guess. And one of them was how to create a viral video. Right? That was it. And I thought, well, I'll go
a very
see
short
if I learn
panel.
something.
It's like, I don't know. Just do it.
Well, they had eight people up there, and they're all talking about what video made them go viral and everything. And so it's like, okay, that was interesting. But, the question was, how do you make a viral video? And every single one of them basically said, well, you just keep making videos, and then when one of them hits and goes big, then people will come back and watch your other stuff, and then you just keep making what videos worked. You just keep making those, and you just got to keep grinding. And I'm sitting there going, what in the world? I think all of us, it was packed. The place, it was one of the biggest.
In a parallel universe, there was a weight loss conference of people were being asked how to lose weight. And it's like, well, you just eat less.
Just eat less.
And you drink water. Maybe you get a sweat every now and then.
Go for a walk.
And if you film it, it might go viral.
Pretty much. It was just like, it was such a letdown. And I was sitting there going, what is going on here? And
'cause they
also
don't
when I
even know.
find out that all these panelists got paid thousands of dollars to come and share their wisdom with everybody at this conference, right? They got flown there. They got put in presidential suites in a nice hotel, and they're being treated like royalty for 3 days. And that's the information you have to share with us. And I was like, okay.
Well, clout is a real thing in that world. Like this sort of like,
Oh yeah. Oh, the funniest thing to me was people who didn't know who I was, and they were walking around like they're really something special. And people introduced us when we started talking. They were going, "Oh, so what kind of videos do you do?" And I said, "Oh, just I just do comedy, and it's kind of motivational." And they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah. Well, let me share you my information." And they're showing their Instagram. They got 14,000 followers, and they're like, big deal. And then they look at mine, and they're like, just staring at me in complete disbelief, because they're this beautiful, young, very successful person. Here I'm just this old dude. I look like people kept asking if I was somebody's chaperone, if I was there with my kid or something. And they'll look up my stuff.
You're the Uber driver that.
Yeah. And they look up, because they all do. They all check to see what your numbers are.
Yeah.
And they would see mine, and they would just kind of flip out because it was. I mean, I had bigger numbers than a lot of the people that were on this panel.
Yeah, dude.
As far as videos and
295,000 Instagram followers and 80 something thousand TikTok
720, on TikTok.
You keep the number.
It's some. Well, you'll see it.
You've changed, Rodney. I'm just kidding.
Well, it becomes your life.
It's your dick measuring. I get it. It's like,
it becomes your life.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a huge dude. 295,000 Instagram followers is massive. Instagram is so hard to grow on right now.
Always, that it took me forever, and then it just started built and going crazy.
So, were you able to kind of borrow against your TikTok shadow? Is that what helped on Instagram?
No, the biggest thing it was silly. Was who Trailer Trash Tammy is?
Is she a kind of hefty comic?
Real big. She's real.
Was she at Vegas or Wise Guys not too long ago?
Yeah, she was at Wise Guys.
Is she the one?
The summer.
I think I know who she is. Yeah. She's really funny.
Yeah, she's very funny.
Yeah.
She's really foul and just and she has huge following, huge millions of following. I mean, she's as big as you can get on social media. But she made this video of her and her friend Crystal talking about, hey, we're looking for Rodney, and
I remember this. Okay, I know who you're talking about now. Yeah, okay.
And so that video went viral. It was really the one that just launched her. I mean, she was doing really good then, and then that one just sent her into the stratosphere. Well, everybody kept tagging me on this video, right? And so just on a whim, I made up a Rodney character, Rodney the redneck character, and I made a response to the video. Now, because they're in their world, Rodney was to never be found.
Right.
But people who saw my video said that of all the response, because there was a lot of other Rodneys that made response videos, mine was clearly the best.
Yeah.
And so they kept getting tagged on my video. So the two characters, Crystal and Tammy, there's Chelsea and I forget her other name, but both of them knew who I was and had started following me, right? So when they came to Salt Lake, I just happened to be around, so I just came to check it out, right? Because it was a spectacle. I mean, she just sold out like 7 straight shows. They had to keep adding stuff.
Yeah.
Could have added more. I mean, there were people who would come to almost every single show. They were paying like exuberant amount of money just to get to meet her with she's
for her,
she's
man.
killing it. I mean,
That's
she's
so great.
absolutely killing it. Well, anyway, as I'm there, I went ahead and because photography is one of my hobbies, right? So I took pictures for Keith so he could post them about her, and I gave her the photos from the shoot because they didn't have any, amazingly enough, right? So I shared them with her. But anyways, I'm there taking pictures. The gal who plays Crystal sees me, and she points at me, she goes, are you who I think you are? And I go, I'm exactly who you think I am. And she's like, we need to talk. I can't believe you're here. I can't believe you're here. And then she went and talked to Chelsea after the show, and Chelsea's like, "Yeah, I saw Rodney walking around. I couldn't believe he's here," because she saw me, taking the pictures. And so I got to go back and in the green room and hang out with them. While we were there, she took a picture with me, in character.
Yeah.
And so I'm standing there, looking completely in shock, and she's, basically trying to molest me. And she posted that to her Instagram. And then and just a story. It wasn't even her regular thing. It was just a story that, she met me, right? And that thing just blew up my Instagram. I mean, it just started going nuts. All these people started jumping on there, and then from there, so cool. I hit some sort of weird algorithm with Instagram, and it just started going crazy. Because that's the toughest nut to crack is Instagram. But once you do, boy, it's amazing because people really watch and follow what you're doing.
You have I'm really inspired by how you do that because I'm in the same game. I'm trying to. I've got 15,000 and change followers, and I put out 1 to 2 pieces of content, high quality, good content every day. And sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it's from the podcast, and sometimes it's motivational. So I haven't been solely in the comedy lane, and so I'm wondering if that's hurting me. But everything that I'm hearing you say is basically just document things, make friends on the internet, like have it be fun, just tag.
That's the biggest thing is just have fun. It's like I tell people when you make a video, the cool thing is that it's just for one person. It's that one person staring at their phone.
Yeah.
That one person. That's all that matters is one person. And so when I'm making a video, I'm thinking, who's that one person that will enjoy this? It needs to laugh or needs to hear this message. And I think of it that it's a friend that I'm trying to help.
I think that's the difference, dude.
Yeah, I clearly think who is this who needs to hear this, and what is it they need to hear, and that's all I'm talking to. That's all I'm focused on is that one person with this one thought, this one idea, and I deliver it.
And you're like, if my grandfather and Bryce were at a table, what would they say?
Yes, what would they say? And that really, that's the trick. And it's a different medium than stand-up. And this is one thing I've been trying to tell stand-ups is if you just put your video, your clips of your act.
Nobody cares.
Up there, nobody cares. Nobody watches it.
Yeah, your jokes aren't, your jokes are funny, but they're not good enough to gain.
Yeah, because
they're commoditized. Like everybody's funny on those jokes, on those reels,
So you've got to do something to separate yourself from everything else. And I think this is what I hit with my character. And whether it was intentional or not, but just being so different looking and having such a different delivery than everything else on the internet, I stand out because people are, they stop. It's a train wreck.
Well,
you
School
look at me and go, what is wrong with this guy? He's not everything.
Right
what's he doing out here? Well, that's why I took off on TikTok was, at the time it was really at the height of it was all lip syncing and dancing, and it was.
So have you done a dance? You done a dance yet?
I did one.
Okay. Yeah. Was it to Beyonce's "Cuff It"? Was that what you did? Is that?
Oh, absolutely.
Seeing you shake your ass would be hilarious.
I'm actually a trained dancer. I don't know if you knew.
Really? I had no idea.
I was offered dance scholarships to Snow College in Utah Valley.
Get out of here! Really?
Yeah,
dude. I challenge you then to find one of those trending dances that the chicks are doing and do it in Leonard character, but be crisp. Like you got this thing going on, and then you're just doing the. Oh my God, that'd be so funny.
I should try it.
It's because it'd be so surprising. It would just be like, wait, what?
What did I just watch?
This stoner? That's from. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be convenient that that's the look because clearly you either perfectly set in place every hair on your head before this conversation, or you just roll out of bed. It's either one of the two.
I just roll out of bed, man.
See, that's
it's like, what do you do with your hair? I just do this.
Yeah.
And
Teresa still digs it.
She loves the long hair. Are you kidding me? She loves it. I had long hair when we met, so I think she's always had a thing for me with long hair.
Fair. Can you guys get a room? This is disgusting.
Oh, I love her. She's so amazing.
You do have a great wife. I've always noticed like she's always around at shows and stuff when you're there, and she seems like she truly likes you and supports you in a cool way, and that's what you want out of your spouse.
Yeah, she's everything. You know, it's funny. People ask me, how do you find a good relationship? I say, well, stop looking.
You have to create one.
Yeah, you have to build it. It's not something you just find. It's something you find somebody who's good for the task, and you have at it.
Yeah, I've been thankful for my wife in that way too. Like she's been somebody that she's got a really good sense of humor, and so I'll run my jokes by her, and oftentimes she's right there in the mix with me creating the story or the joke because it's about something that we've done together or about our kids or whatever.
Yeah. And
then I'll, quasi perform it. And then she's like, well, what about this? And it's cool because I didn't allow her to be that for me for the longest time because I wanted just to have her see the finished product.
Yeah.
And I realized that was a disservice to the relationship because there was a huge growth part of me that was the entire process of writing jokes and telling that. And sometimes it was vulnerable and sometimes it was sad and sometimes it sucked. But to bring her into that and have her be a part of that with me has been really good for our relationship.
Yeah.
And she's funny. Like she's really quippy and you'd never know it because she has this sort of like shell when she's in public where she's very observant first. Mm-hmm. But the people that know her know just what an incredibly like amazing person that she is. Mm-hmm. She's funny and kind and compassionate, all those things. I don't know if I feel in a sense of like in real talk, I don't know how comics that have challenging marital relationships do well because it seems like that added tension or pressure would screw it up for you.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I think that works for our relationship was that me doing stand-up was her idea.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
She really pushed me hard because I was into acting and I wanted to be an actor. That was my focus. And she finally just said, look, you're not what they're looking for. Not in a bad way, but she's just like, and I knew this. I knew I would go to auditions and they would just say, look, you're a great actor, but you're not what we're looking for. You're too short or you're too tall or I remember walking to an audition one time and I didn't even say a word. And the lady looks at me and goes, oh no, your ears are lopsided. Your nose is sort of to the side. And you got something weird going with your eyes. No, you're not no.
Like, my name's Rodney, by the way. Thanks.
Yeah, it was just, she just ran me right down. This is what's wrong with you. Okay, go.
Meanwhile, she's sitting on saddlebags.
She's like, she literally did this. No.
See, the twist turn and then the submissive.
The push. I'm literally pushing you out of the room. It was like, oh, wow.
Good. Fortunately, she was a physical specimen and positively perfect.
Oh, absolutely. But, it was like, but you have to be, you have to have thick skin. Yeah, you have to take it personal. It's like, okay. But I kept getting told that all the time. You're a great actor, but you're just not, it's like the roles they said that I would be good for, I'm too young for. And at that age, they're looking for young stars. They're looking for, the lead roles. And I just was not good looking enough to be a lead role actor.
Have you gotten any offers to do acting since you've had more popularity now?
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Some I took on one that I probably shouldn't have.
Was it an adult film?
Almost. No, it was these guys are making this movie. It's called Jeebus.
Jeebus. Okay.
Jeebus.
Oh, Jeebus.
And the idea is that Jesus comes back to Earth as a beach bum in Florida.
Okay.
And so he's hanging out with like homeless people and derelicts in Florida. And
were you Jeebus?
No, I was. I'm God.
You're God.
So he communicates with God, and so.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and so I'm playing. So it's my Leonard character as God.
Oh,
so it's
glorious.
When
does it come out?
They're shopping it around now. It's either Netflix or Hulu, that kind of stuff. It's shopping around. I think they're looking for a release in February.
I can't wait.
So, I've already had people get mad at me who are, fellow Christians. They're like, "Oh, you're making fun of Jesus." Oh, no, I think we're making fun of people's attitudes towards Jesus.
We're making fun of you.
Yeah, we're making fun
Because you're mad at me
Yeah.
for playfully playing God.
Yes.
God's got other things to worry about than
Yes.
me doing this.
Yes. Yes. There's a lot more things to be upset about.
So enjoy your diabetes.
Yes. But it's just a ridiculous movie, but the message really behind it, though, I liked it. Because it's saying, a lot of people are using religion to hurt people.
Yeah.
We've become so, especially in the United States, just so divided about the dumbest things. And that's really what this is making fun of. And I was like, I
love that. That's a true thing, and I love that your comedy and your art has allowed you to make a little jab at that. That sounds fun. Since you've already been on the show like 50 times, when it releases, let's have you come back and we'll talk about it.
Oh, sure.
Because
Jeebus, it'd be fun.
We'll see if we can get some quotes or some little clips from it and see if we can.
Oh yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
A little social commentary about your.
If I'm going to go meet with
lack of respect for deity.
It was really funny because I didn't know these people. I was down in Florida doing a show, doing a weekend of shows, and we were doing this theater there nearby where these guys are, and the guy who booked me, his name's Donnie Stopa, another comic. He was out just kind of handing out flyers, trying to get people to come to the show because it wasn't. We had a few tickets more to sell. So he goes out and he's just canvassing, and he comes to this kava bar they're not far from the theater, and he starts handing out flyers. Says, "Oh yeah, come to the show. It's gonna be fun. We got this guy," and they're looking at it going, "Hey, wait a second. We know who this is. This is Rodney Norman." All right. He's like, "Yeah," and he goes, "He's here right now?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're going to do a show tonight." And they're like, "Oh, we'll come." So like almost the entire production crew came to the show and sat through the stand-up. And then afterwards they come up, they start, "Hey, look, I know this is weird, but we're all with it." And there was like 15 of them or so. And they're like, "Well, this is our production crew, and we're making this movie, and we think you would be really great for the part of playing God. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Sure, tell me more," right? So I went the next day, went with lunch with the guy who's producing it. His name's Coley, and he sat at lunch and he told me the basic idea of the story and why he was doing it and kind of the philosophy behind the whole thing. And I'm like, "Yeah, sounds like fun. Sure." And so we decided before I left, they set up a green screen and we filmed for like 6 hours. I had some basic things that they wanted needed for the script. And then they just let me go. They were just like, "Oh, just whatever you want to say."
How fun.
And so I got to just riff, as God talking to people. And when we were done, he says, I'll be honest with you, I think we're going to use almost every single thing that we filmed because
yeah, that good.
Yeah, it was fun as we're filming because green screen and they're all there.
Yeah.
They said cut a couple times because they needed to laugh. Because they're like, "I can't hold it in. When you just need to stop right now." And some of them would just leave because they're like, "I can't be in there right now because I can't stop laughing." They were worried about messing up the shot. That kind of. So it was really. It was
how
fun.
Cool was that for you,
dude? It was a fun time. It's just, and like I said, it's a very irreverent movie, but it'll be fun. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, I can't wait to see it. And I'm serious. We'll have you come back on and we can talk about it when it's live.
But yeah, new opportunities are just opening up, and I'm so. I mean, as I tell people, if nothing else even ever happens with me in my career, if I just am just this for whatever, I am pleased as punch. I could not even begin to express how grateful I am for this whole thing. You know, because you as an artist, you work at something for so long, you're putting out there, and it's unappreciated for so long. It's unnoticed for so long. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you get the notoriety. You know, all of a sudden people start noticing, and people start appreciating you and what you're doing, and it's just it's humbling.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, I'm so happy for you. That's so cool. I've always felt that as you're describing this, it reminds me, you know, comedy in this whole game we play, it's like backwards of a video game. It's like starting with no skills, playing Madden on all pro level, and you don't know anything about the game, and you're getting your ass handed to you, and I got to learn how to play the game, and then it gets easier as you go along, and opportunities get better, but you have to kind of stick through that part at the beginning where you're just flailing about, you know?
Yeah, and just keep plugging along.
So I had an idea for we usually have a current event segment that we do as a part of this.
Okay.
But I thought instead of doing that, if I was to like pose questions to you and you could answer them as Leonard.
Oh, okay.
Would you be okay to do that? A little impromptu?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So let's say, for example, I'm going to pretend to be reading from a question that a fan sent in, okay?
Okay.
So this fan says, my sister is having problems with her boyfriend. He is saying mean words to her all the time and steals money out of her purse, but yet consistently says it's because he was high. What would you recommend my sister do in the relationship with her boyfriend?
Okay, so the first thing I would like to point out is that it's amazing what you're willing to give up to get off. And so it sounds like she's just surrendering a lot of her self-respect, because most people are not really in love. They're just in love with the idea of being in love. And so when they find someone who's willing to just sort of be there as that love person, you just sort of overlook a lot of nonsense. If I say, no, love is blind. No, no, that's just stupid, is what that is. And it sounds to me like she needs a girl pair and kick this dude to the curb, because he's not in it for you. So that's what I would suggest. If when you surrender yourself, because you give up yourself to make them happy, right? So you're making yourself miserable so that you can make them happy, and then eventually they're not going to be happy because you're not happy anyway, and then they're going to get bummed out. They're probably going to go find somebody else. They'll probably already have somebody else already anyway, but if you're, as long as you're willing to put up with their nonsense, they'll keep putting up with your nonsense. But so they'll leave, and then all of a sudden you're there feeling depressed and stupid, because it's like, I gave up everything I was, and I made myself miserable to make them happy, and it still wasn't enough. And then you start internalizing it, and you think, but I need them back. I need them back. But again, you're not in love with this person, so it's a horrible relationship. You should probably stop looking for. You're really bad. Maybe go find somebody you hate and start from there, because you got a bad picker.
Okay, I'll make sure we pass that along to her.
Okay.
Here's another one for you, Leonard. This fan says, I have a really great job that I've had for a long time, but I feel unfulfilled. A friend of mine suggested to me that we quit our jobs and move to Spain and walk the Camino, whatever, I don't even know the name of it, to find ourselves. Leonard, what would you do if you were me?
Okay. So a lot of people get jobs that they don't. Well, you get excited, you get the job the first, you say, hey, look, they hired me. And then you start making money, and then after a while you realize it's not as exciting as you thought it was going to be. So you're there. And then, a lot of times you just stay there because you got nowhere else to go. Because it's like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, because you got no vision for what it is you want to accomplish. So moving to Spain, you go find. First of all, you're not going to find yourself, because there's nothing out there to find. It's not like you're a ring that somebody lost on the side of the road, and you're going to go look for it and find it. You go, oh, look, here it is. Oh, I found myself. You're not a creation. You're a creation. You're not a discovery, right? You're an invention, not a discovery. You create you. So if you want to go out and create part of yourself out on the road, wandering around in Spain, okay, that's good. But you're not going to find anything that you can't find hanging out here. I mean, you can go, you can do this cheaper is what I'm saying. Okay, but if it's a job you don't like, right, what you want to do is just give yourself an out, because what you're looking for is you feel like you're trapped. But if you say, okay, I'm going to give myself 3 months at this job, I'm going to save some money, and then I'm going to go do something else, then you'll find yourself be happier because you know you got an out, because you can stop. You can just go do something else anytime you want. You know that there's an end date. And then your job is just sort of part of your plan, because you're making the money. So then it's not so miserable, because now it's the choices you've made, and because you're just horrible at making choices is really what it comes down to. So just start making some really good choices and just stick with it, because you probably made good choices in the past, but you didn't stick with it because you didn't trust your choices. But you can make some good choices. Listen. Maybe you should just listen to your friend. Okay.
It's great advice. Okay, we have one last one for you, Leonard. This gentleman says, I've been going to Alcoholics Anonymous for 4 years, and everybody in my group says I'm the funniest of the bunch. I think I want to try stand-up comedy. What do you think?
Okay, maybe you should just start drinking again.
That's sound advice, Leonard.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dude. That was freaking fun. Holy crap, man. Well, thank you for imparting your wisdom upon us. I'm sure those people will be helped immensely by...
Don't do stand-up.
Just start drinking again. That's sound advice, actually, if that was a real sort of thing. No, you're sober. It's not going to last if you get into stand-up.
Oh, dear.
Oh, my gosh, dude. That was great. Well, Ronnie, that's about it, man. I really appreciate you taking time on your trip out here to Utah to come spend some time with me here at the show.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
This is always a good time chatting it up with you, man.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So if you're like one of the 6 people on this planet that doesn't follow him, it's at Rodney Norman on both Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Yeah, Rodney Norman, Rodney D. Norman. My website's rodneynorman.com. You can find all my socials there.
And I tell you what, if you got any sort of joy out of this podcast, go buy a T-shirt, because he is a T-shirt salesman.
It's what I do.
Yep. He peddles wares.
I peddle wares and wish people a happy birthday.
There it is.
Cameo.
Dude, give me your Cameo link and I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Somebody wants a question answered by Leonard. Anyway, as well, thank you for watching the show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you'd be willing. Go leave us a 5-star rating and review on YouTube, and not on YouTube, on iTunes. The link is at BrycePrescottComedy.com. And another one's in the books, my friends. Take it easy.
Okay, bye.